to extend onto the road allowance by turning those parallel to the building. We could accommodate the 3 parking spaces, and they would not be located on the city's road allowance. The region is looking for a road widening and a daylighting triangle on Thorlestone Road and at St. James. Those could be obtained through the site plan process. This application doesn't impact on the city's strategic commitment, but would provide necessary service to residents. Therefore, we believe that this application can be supported, complies with the official plan. It's a change from one type of temporary residence to another type. There will be sufficient parking on site, and the road widenings can be accommodated. Therefore, we're recommending that Council approve the zoning amendment application to permit a group home up to 10 persons, subject to the provision of 3 parking spaces located entirely on the property. Those are the highlights.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Hurlovich. And members of the public are advised that failure to make an oral or written submission at this public meeting will result in the Ontario Municipal Board dismissing any referral that it receives. Failure to sign the sign-in sheets will result in staff rejecting an appeal as per Section 34, subsection 19 of the Planning Act. Council will hear from anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw amendment at this time. Is there anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak? Please come forward. Just be kind enough to state your name and address, please, and just adhere to the 10-minute limit. I'd appreciate that, please.
I think I know the routine. Your Worship, members of Council, my name is Lorna Anstruther, and I live at 4075 St. James Avenue. I really believe that there is a need for a facility such as this for the City of Niagara Falls, but I do have some concerns. Firstly, I don't believe having a group home for children with emotional issues is appropriate for a busy street like Thorlestone Road. Mr. Katzoff, who spoke to us at the public meeting, said that the children would never leave the home unaccompanied. Yet later in his talk, he mentioned that if a child runs out, a staff member has to go after him. Well, we all know that the posted speed limit on Thorlestone Road is 50, but to be honest, I've rarely seen one traveling 50. They're usually going 60 or more. Now, a distraught child running onto Thorlestone Road has absolutely no chance against a car traveling 70 or a semi, and they, believe me, travel up to 70 on the road. And I've also noticed that drivers on St. James have a tendency of speeding up towards the corner in their effort to make the light. And I can attest to the fact that I have yet to see one actually make that light. Secondly, parking became an issue when Nova House was on the corner. And Mr. Katzoff addressed the meeting by saying that there would never be more than 3 cars. But later, as he's talking with more children, they'd need more cars or more staff, and they'd need more people during the summer months. Well, suddenly that's not 3 cars. And on the west side of St. James, it's 2-hour parking. So where are the additional cars going to go when they have additional staff without interrupting the lives of the neighbors? Additional parking on the street means that the streets will not be cleaned properly of snow or swept properly in the summertime. And it should also be known that this is actually a crosswalk to the schools in the area. And I hate to say this, but Nova House became sort of a product of its own success, and I just have the feeling that this is going to happen the same thing here. And finally, when we were first notified about the group home, it was stated that the children would be 6 to 14. Yet during the meeting, Mr. Katzoff mentioned that there could be children from the ages of 15 to 17. Now this week I received this letter from Mr. Katzoff stating that the age would be limited from 6 to 14, that the older children would be housed in a different facility. Now I'm just wondering if we can take this letter as written in stone.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Anstruther. We'll see if we can get some of your questions answered, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else other than the applicant who wishes to speak at this time? Once again, is there anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak? Yes, please come forward.
We have time.
Good evening, welcome. Please state your name and
Thank you, Mr. Mayor,
address.
members of council. Dennis Sundstrom, I did go to the same meeting. I know the home. I know its history. I have property 5 doors down. I have several properties. I invest there on Thurlstone Road. I have no problem with this development of this property. I don't have any problem with the amendment. It doesn't matter where we go. There's going to be traffic, and I just want to say I have. There's nothing else I can do. I can't come up with the negativity of it. I think that something has to be done with that building, and I think this is a good improvement for the area. And many neighbors came out at the last meeting. They're not even here tonight. So that's all I have to say.
Good. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else other than the applicant who wishes to speak? Please come forward. Good evening. Welcome.
Mayor Salsi, members of council, my remarks will just be very brief. My name is Ernie Morgan of Morrison Son Funeral Home. Most of you know me as a business owner, a husband, a father, and an active community volunteer. As a longtime member and a past president of the Rotary Club of Niagara Falls, I'm here to support this proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Our Rotary Club and its foundation plan to support this project both financially and as volunteers. We've had a number of meetings with NCYS and look very much forward to the success of this project. So I would encourage the members of council to vote in favor of the zoning change so that Niagara Falls does not lose out on this opportunity. The program brings a much-needed service to Niagara Falls, and certainly I know that if my family needed the services, I would be glad it was here and I didn't have to go to St. Catharines or Welland or another surrounding community to obtain it. So thank you for your time. Please vote in favor.
Thank you. Is there anyone else other than the applicant who wishes to speak? Once again, anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak? Seeing none, at this time, then, I'll call forward the applicant or his representative. There.
Thank you, Mayor, members, council. My name is Bill Hametzi. I'm Director of Clinical Services for Niagara Child and Youth Services, and I'm also a Niagara Falls resident for the past 20 years. I'd like to answer the neighbors' questions, but if I could, I'd just like to say a few things. First, Niagara Child and Youth Services is the Niagara region's primary children's mental health agency, and as such, we've served 4,000 children and adolescents in the past year. And as the primary children's mental health agency in Niagara, we don't offer any direct services in Niagara Falls. We have had extensive residential experience. We've been operating residential services for over 20 years, but those 2 residents, one is in St. Catharines, the other is in Welland, and this would be the first direct service program that we offer in Niagara Falls. It will be offered for children 6 to 14 years of age, and it's for children who are trying to have some of their mental health issues addressed. Largely, the kids are presenting with issues of adjustment, some anxiety problems. Basically, they have some difficulty sort of meeting their optimal level, and our residential service and the other therapeutic supports we offer is aimed to address those needs. While the children are in residence, their parents will also be receiving services from us and supports. The average stay in the residence would be approximately 5 to 6 months in duration. As has been mentioned, the Rotary Club of Niagara is happy to support us in this endeavor, and to also financially and through some mentoring, these young people can benefit greatly from interested volunteers who want to take some time and spend some time with them. So we're very pleased for that, and we think that would be a great help. In our numerous years of offering residential services, we haven't had incident, and while it is difficult to say that at any given time for the next 20 years there would only be 3 cars, by and large our residential services, that's the maximum number of cars that are on the premises. That's the amount of space that our staff take up. And the issue of The speed on the road is certainly a concern. Unfortunately, there's a lot of other issues that have to be taken into consideration, and we found that this site, on balance, offered us the best site to support these children and their families, and we hope that council will approve our request. Thank you.
Yes, perhaps I could ask you, Bill, if you would address the matter of parking for the resident who the neighbor was concerned.
I think 3 is the maximum that we would need.
Okay. And do you have any limitations in respect to the questions, again, that were raised as the issue with regard to being children 6 to 14 years only?
That 6 to 14 would be the age limit, yes. Okay. And obviously there wouldn't be 6-year-olds with 14-year-olds. It would be 12 to 14, 6 to 8.
Okay. Thank you. All righty. At this point, are there any questions from members of council that you'd like to pose to the applicant? Yes, Councillor Peter Angelo.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. And I know that the planner, Mr. Hurlovich, had mentioned in his, introduction to the item that there would be a couple amendments to the wording of group home. There would be a couple additions. I just wanted to know whether or not the representative had any issues with those.
Oh, no, those are fine. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from members of council? Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
This time, then, the public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is now concluded. The pleasure of council. Councillor Maves.
Move the recommendation.
Second by Councillor Fisher. Any discussion or comments? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, would you introduce the next item on the agenda, please?
The public meeting is now being convened to consider a proposed amendment to the city's zoning bylaw to permit the option of using 2 subject lots at 4354 and 4374 Drummond Road as one lot to recognize the existing business. Notice was given by first-class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on Friday, October 2nd, 2009, and by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passage of the zoning bylaw amendment to participate in any site plan process, if applicable, or preserve their opportunity to appeal to the Ontario Municipal Board shall leave their name on the sign-in sheets outside the council chamber.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. And at this time, I'm going to ask the Director of Planning once again to explain the purpose and the reason for the proposed bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Your Worship. This application involves 2 parcels of land on Drummond Road. The location is south of Gallinger, opposite Glengate Street. The 2 parcels are identified in blue. The property has a total lot area of 31,000 square feet, or 3/4 of an acre. The lands in the immediate vicinity of the property are zoned general commercial. There's a former church, now facility run by the region, on the opposite side of the street, which is zoned, I believe, neighborhood commercial. But by and large, the uses in the area are all commercial uses. Go to the next slide. The application involves a current commercial building. It's a lawnmower and equipment repair place. The building recently had an addition to the building, which straddles the property line. The 2 property lines or 2 properties are held by separate owners, held in separate title, but the principles involved are the same for both properties. Therefore, they're seeking to recognize the 2 lots as one for the purposes of the zoning bylaw and operating this business. Again, this is much as I've described. The lands are designated major commercial in the official plan. They're part of the Stamford Commercial District. The official plan does encourage the consolidation of commercial properties. We do feel that this application conforms with the intended use, and the 2 lots will provide for the expanded retail operations. In the future, the redevelopment of the property would conform with the official plan. The lands, as I've mentioned, are both zoned general commercial. What we'd be doing is adding a site-specific regulation that would allow the two lots to be recognized as one. This would be a permissive situation, so that if at any time the applicant wished to sell either the lots independently, they could do so. But in order to sell the lots independently, it would require that the removal of the addition that caused the problem in the first place occur. Therefore, we believe that this application will correct a non-complying situation. It will allow for the future expansion should they wish to expand their retail operations. And the application can be supported subject to them obtaining the necessary building permits from the City Department. Therefore, we're recommending that the zoning bylaw amendment application to recognize the two lots as one to recognize the existing retail use be supported.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurlovich. And once again, members of the public are advised that failure to make an oral or written submission at this public meeting will result in the Ontario Municipal Board dismissing any referral that it receives. Failure to sign the sign-in sheets will result in staff rejecting an appeal as per Section 34, subsection 19 of the Planning Act. At this time, Council will hear from anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw amendment. Is there anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw amendment? Once again, is there anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak? Having seen none, then Council will now hear from the applicant or his representative.
Your Worship, members of Council, I'll be brief, obviously. There really is no objection to this thing. I think it's pretty academic. The one thing I would mention, it states in there that if there's a road widening, they want a site plan. Well, I would say that we bought this extra piece of property from Paddle, and it was severed, and the region took road widening. So the road widening is already, the city already has it, or the region already has it along Drummond. The other thing is the question of the necessity of a building permit. Well, it's really a Quonset hut that was put there. It's not a permanent fixture. Therefore, there's really a question mark there, and it may be necessary, it may not be necessary, but we'll address that when the time comes. Other than that, I just say that the site plan is not necessary because the building's already there. I think it makes sense what they're doing. The reason they're doing this really is that they've got separate ownerships. If they did at one time, they may in the future want to sell. Of course, they have to tear down the building or move the lot line if that happened. But they've expanded their business and they're doing quite well. I think they're going to stay there. But we'd appreciate the City Council granting this.
Thank you, Mr. Sinclair. Are there any questions of Mr. Sinclair as the applicant solicitor? Councillor Thompson.
I don't have a direct question, but as a result of being involved a little bit with this particular application, everybody will know this as the E&R lawn equipment. It's been there for many, many years and extremely successful. And as a result of acquiring the adjacent property to the north, they used to have all of their equipment, lawnmowers, 50, 60, 100 right out in front, very little opportunity to park. And what they've done now, and there is, in my opinion, no building, all of these are sea containers that have been dropped in there, 2 or 3 on each side, just to put their lawn equipment from the front inside so that it's out of the rain and people can have better access to it. So it's not really an addition, it's a stone walkway underneath, and it just encroaches over the other lot a short period of time. The site plan, in my opinion, is not necessary because of the previous road widening that has been mentioned. But this could be and probably will be dismantled at some time in the future in either a permanent expansion from this building, or there could be a totally different use on the other property whatsoever. So this was a housekeeping issue that they got involved in, cleaned up the front, provided ample parking, and also provided what I think is an attractive building, and unknowingly encroached on the other property. So I think that this is a a no-brainer, in my opinion, and I compliment the planning staff who worked along with the applicant and the solicitor to make sure that this went very smoothly, and they were extremely cooperative with the applicant, so I compliment them and thank them for that. This could have been much more complicated than it is, and I think they've really made it acceptable to the applicant. So at the appropriate time, I would make a motion for approval when the meeting is closed.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from members of council? No, having seen none, then the public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is now concluded. Thank you very much, Mr. Sinclair. Moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Maves. Once again, you've heard the comments. Any further comments or questions by members of council? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, the next item on the agenda, please.
The next item isn't a public meeting per se. It was a report that was actually on your agenda 2 weeks ago, and it was deferred at the time so that it could be advertised and brought back in open council. My understanding is that there may be a desire to defer based on the fact you have a couple of council members absent. If that deferral goes through, then we'll deal with it at the next meeting.
Thank you. The item we're talking about, of course, is in your agendas, PD 2009-86, proposed change from residential loan to a residential grant to encourage renovation of older apartments and unused vacant space above businesses along Queen Street and Erie Avenue. Councillor Wing and then Councillor Pietrangelo.
Yes, I spoke with both Councillor Carrio and Councillor Iannone earlier today. They're both unable to be in attendance, and they would like it deferred so they can be present to speak to it, so I will move deferral.
Have a motion to defer by Councillor Wing. Is there a seconder? Councillor Pietrangelo, yes. Would you like to speak as well? Okay. No comments, of course, because the motion to defer is undebatable. That's right. So at this time, all those in favor? 6. Fine. Thank you. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Members of Council, I want to begin my comments this evening by offering our deepest condolences to our fellow member of Council, Mr. Vince Carrio, Jr., on the death of his father, Mr. Vince Carrio. A former MPP, Mr. Carrio, Sr., will be sadly missed by his family and legions of friends. We also extend our condolences to Lena Hansegalis from our Building Services Office on the recent passing of her brother-in-law, Isidore Vadavaz. And on a happier note, we had the pleasure this afternoon of attending an unveiling of the Bill Davis commemorative plaque erected at Fireman's Park, chosen by the Friends of the Greenbelt Foundation as one of 5 locations to honor former Premier Bill Davis's commitment to protecting our natural heritage, benefiting the quality of life for all residents of Ontario. The 27th Annual Winter Festival of Lights kicks off this weekend in Queen Victoria Park on Saturday, November 7th, beginning at 5:15 and ending at 7:30. Everyone is welcome to this fantastic stage production with special appearances by Disney's Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Daisy Duck, plus fireworks and, of course, the illumination of the falls. And finally, I would like to advise you that this year's Santa Claus Parade will be held on Saturday, November 28th, beginning at 11 a.m. at the corner of Victoria and Armory Streets, winding its way down to City Hall. Project Share will be picking up food donations along the parade route, and Canada Post will be picking up letters for Santa Claus at City Hall and at the gazebo near Valleyway. There will be free Tim Hortons hot chocolate, Timbits, and face painting. Again, will be available. And after the parade, everyone is invited to enjoy the Prime Time Brass Band from Rochester, New York, in front of City Hall, beginning at 12:45 p.m. and then at 1 p.m. So you'll be able to enjoy a meet and greet with the Vancouver 2010 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games mascots, who are called Miga, Quachi, and Sumi. And of course, Santa Claus will be available to meet the children at the Buttery from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And there'll be so many things to see and do in downtown Niagara Falls on November 28th. We hope that we have a great turnout. This concludes my comments for this evening. We'll turn to communications and comments from the clerk. I guess there's one additional consideration for the council. We have a letter from Mr. Ed Lustig regarding the Montrose development. We've had that submitted to us earlier in our package. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk? Yes. Okay, so we have 3 items. The first one we'd like to take is the TESL request for the week of December 6 to 12, 2009, being proclaimed as English as a Second Language Week in the City of Niagara Falls. Motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Diodati. Once again, you've heard the question. Any comments? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Item number 2 is the Town of Lincoln, a letter from Mayor of Lincoln on the upload of social program costs. Pleasure of council. Receive and file. Councillor Thompson.
Yes. What is the mayor looking for here? Do you have any idea?
Mr. Clerk, if you want to disqualify that, please.
Just want support from the council?
I think he wants to make council aware of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate for council to support it without any staff background, but we felt it was appropriate because the mayor of Lincoln has been promoting this throughout the region, that we not ignore it and we at least list it for your information purposes more so than anything else.
You want to report back?
Well, I don't want to do it, but someone else may.
Well, the pleasure of council.
Yeah.
It's really for information, Councillor, but if you wish to have a report, I'm sure we could do that.
I'll support make a motion for support of the resolution.
Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Fisher. Did you want to report by staff as well?
Sure.
Okay. And report by staff. Councillor Wing, did you want to make a comment?
I was going to suggest, I'm not sure we need a report. There's a lot of information in the attachments, particularly the letter from Mayor Bill Hodgson dated October 14th. And the basic idea is that the region should be beginning its current year budget preparation with an adjusted base budget for transparency's sake. And he points out if the uploaded costs were to remain in the property tax base, increases in municipal expenditure can be masked. So basically, take the costs that the province has assumed out, because if you don't, then there's all this room there to put in new costs and hide what's really a tax increase.
That's right. You captured the essence of what we're talking about. So perhaps, Council, maybe there's no need for a report. It's self-explanatory. Okay, you can support that. Yes, Councillor Peter Angelo.
Your Worship, if we support this motion, does that mean that we're going to change the way that we do our budget?
I'm sorry, I don't think so. No.
Okay, that would be the next question.
Okay, pleasure of council. Yeah. Just to make council informed, this is with regard to the uploading of some services, as you know, and he wants to make his point by pointing out the difference in respect to that. So it doesn't affect us at this level. It does on the regional level. So, okay. So all those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Move on to the next item is a letter from Mr. Ed Lustig regarding the Montrose development. Mr. Lustig is here. Would you like to allow Mr. Lustig to make his presentation? Moved by Councillor Peter Angelo, seconded by Councillor Diodati. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Welcome, Mr. Lustig.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and good evening. For the record, my name is Ed Lustig, and I'm with the law firm of Broderick & Partners, and I represent the firm of Hospitality Resorts, Inc., who are the owners of the Montrose development. I forwarded a letter that you have that was with your package. It didn't get on the order paper, but it was with your package, and hopefully you've had an opportunity to review it. And I hope that the comments in that letter are fairly self-explanatory. My client appreciates greatly the support that it received 2 weeks ago from this council in the way of a resolution for the proposed Montrose development. That resolution only sets the stage for a possible application by this council, eventually the city to the region, to amend the urban area boundaries. It doesn't approve anything. It just puts us in the game, so to speak. I'm here this evening because, as you know, the province have appealed the region's policy plan amendment to incorporate the growth plan for Niagara region that was agreed to at the region. You, of course, Your Worship, are very well aware of it. You were part of that process. And the effect of that appeal, among other things, would stymie or stifle any opportunity by this council or other municipal councils within the next 5 years to bring forward urban area boundary amendments and therefore make our project something that we couldn't go forward with. So the point that I'm making or trying to make in the letter is that in order to put into place effectively the steps that you've thought of through the motion that you've passed, we're respectfully asking you to join with us, and we're going to do this, become a party to the hearing that the Ontario Municipal Board is convening on the urban area boundaries matter. There's a pre-hearing that has been scheduled in that matter in St. Catharines on the 25th, and my client has authorized me to appear on its behalf, and this letter asks you to do the same on behalf of the city, because in addition to obviously providing us with support, because the regional policy plan and the provincial plan requires that urban area boundary amendments are municipally initiated. It would give that effort a lot more credibility if a municipality, in fact, appeared to, if you will, defend what the region has agreed to. So that's what we're requesting. Again, we're very, very appreciative of the resolution that you passed, and we're hopeful that you can take this further step to go along with us to represent that position before the board. Those are my submissions. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lustig. If you just hang on one moment, please. Our city solicitor has a comment he'd like to make.
I just ask Council that if we be given a chance to prepare a report to give Council some idea of the expense involved in participating in this hearing. I think Council should know that before agreeing to participate.
And Mr. Beaman, are you suggesting is this an in-house matter, or do we have to retain outside counsel?
This hearing of this type, if it's and I haven't had a chance to really look at the magnitude of it, but when I last did a urban boundary hearing, and I wasn't even fighting with the province, I was in private practice then, and it made my I'm not supposed to. Well, it made my quota for the year. So I was working for the region of Hamilton Wentworth, and that baby paid a lot. It took, I guess, 5 weeks altogether. We won. The Walmart is now on Rymel Road. That's my little victory there. But I think that council should be aware that this is a major undertaking, and it's going to cost quite a bit. It will likely cost us quite a bit to participate. That's just a factor for council to take into account. If the council feels this is in the best interests of the city in terms of its long-term planning, then away we go. We'll go for it. But I just think the council should have some idea of what they're getting into before committing itself.
Mr. Beaman, we note that the time frame is very tight. November 25th is a pre-hearing.
Well, I can have something back by November 16th.
Okay. Members of council, do you have a question of Mr. Beaman or Mr. Lustig?
Yes, I'd like
Councillor
Mr. Lustig to respond to the comments so we can get some more clarity with respect to this.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lustig, would you like to make comment, please?
Well, obviously, I know Mr. Beaman is putting forward a responsible position from his perspective. I would point out to you that in my letter I've indicated that we would bear the costs, if you will, of any outside planning in the sense that we would provide the planning advice that we have from Bousfields, who are the ones who appeared before you 2 weeks ago. So in that respect, costs related to the planning evidence, if you had to have outside planning evidence, if you decided that that was the appropriate planning evidence for you, would be deferred by that item. Beyond that, obviously we would prefer that you pass a resolution supporting us this evening, but there's not more that I can say about the item than that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Thompson?
Well, what other costs would be involved? You're representing, so we're talking about our solicitor's time, our planner's time in-house?
Well, it really, Mr. Beaman should comment about what the city may be involved with. I can tell you that from our perspective, we're only interested in a very narrow aspect of this appeal, and that is the urban area boundary position that the province has taken. It's taken other positions with respect to other aspects of the plan, and so our participation, I would think, would be limited to my representation and our planning consultants' representation, which I've in essence offered to the city if it wishes to take advantage of that. And it isn't for me to speculate on what the city might decide to do in terms of its participation. It's just what I would do.
So
we would have to have an outside counsel for this matter. I would not be able to dedicate time to a hearing of this nature.
Okay.
I'd just be out of the office all the time, Councillor Thompson, so that we'd have to hire an outside guy.
Mr. Hurlovich, would you like to make comment then, please?
My only comment, Mr. Mayor, would be that the outside planning assistance that Mr. Lustig's client has proposed would be one that this council would have to take advantage of, because we have not actually researched the expansion that they're requesting, and we'll be working on the application following council's direction of 2 weeks ago. So we will be working with Mr. Lustig, but at this point we don't have any planning evidence that we'd be able to bring forward.
But we have volunteered, if you will, Mr. Smith of Bowsfield's participation, which I presume from Mr. Hurlovich's comments is acceptable in terms of planning advice, but that's not my call.
Okay. Any other questions, members of council or members of staff? Yes, Councillor Peter Angelo.
Yeah, Your Worship, if we're going to request that the board add the city as a party, can we do that like tomorrow? Can we do that in 2 weeks? Can we do that up until the 25th?
Mr. Beeman?
We would have to actually appear on the 25th and advocate that position. I would expect the province may or may not object. Usually when the region's involved, when a regional council's involved, they don't really want the other municipalities showing up unless there's some sort of difference in their positions, and at the moment our positions are aligned. One of the concerns that council may have in a situation like this is the interests of the region and the city may not always be aligned, and that is one of the fears that I think the applicants have, is that the region may decide to cut its losses, because as Mr. Lustig has pointed out, there are a number of appeals they're fighting with the province about, and they may just surrender this one to get another one that they like better. Maybe they think something in Smithville is more valuable than what we have down here at Niagara Falls. So there is a reason for Niagara Falls to be at the table. It's just my duty to warn you that it's going to cost us to be there.
May I make a comment? Mr. Beeman has really hit the nail on the head, and I think, Your Worship, you're very well aware of this, that the item that we're concerned about and that we are wishing to ourselves be involved in, and hoping that the city will also get involved in, was an item that was added to the amendment by the Regional Council. And for that reason, we don't want to get caught in a situation where a arrangement is made that is acceptable to some people, presumably the people in the planning staff at the region, and it isn't acceptable to us. We went down the line, as the city did, in not appealing the region's decision because we were content with all of it, even though there were compromises along the way. But what's near and dear to our heart in terms of this particular development, and I presume for the city in terms of the resolution that it's passed, is this particular amendment. And we want to make sure that that stays intact, or else this development can't go. This resolution wouldn't mean anything if we couldn't make an application through you to the board. So Mr. Beeman is absolutely correct that our interests may not completely align with everyone at the region.
And I appreciate you distinguishing the difference, Councillor, in respect to that. We have a point, I'm calling you a councillor as far as legal counsel goes, but having said that, as legal counsel, you've got to protect your client. We know that the region's interests are a little different than the city's interests. We also know that the ministry's focus is probably going to be more focused on other areas of the region than it will be in Niagara Falls. So you did make us, you did apprise us of that, and I'm well aware of that from the region's presentation. So in protecting your client's interest as legal counsel, I'm wondering if there's any other way to limit the liability, I guess, or the cost to the city. Of course, it's going to be costly. I think we've shown our support of this project, and I don't know how you put a lid on that as far as the city goes. And I'm not sure if they can only go halfway or all way, or what the cost is going to be, but we're listening to our city solicitor telling us that. So as legal counsel for your client, obviously you'd like to see the support of this council, and I think we'd like to support that, but I'm not sure if the members of council yet fully understand what the cost implications could be. And I'm not sure how we can qualify or further let's say, value that cost.
Well, excuse me if I may, what the city solicitor has commented on is that it may be up to 5 weeks, and I think he has acknowledged that it would probably be council costs, that's outside legal costs, so that would probably be the quantum of your exposure, I'm guessing, on the basis of what he said. We've indicated that any planning advice that would be needed we would supply, if you will, by way of Bowsfield. So you can do the math, I guess. That's the worst case scenario. I'm hopeful that there are going to be discussions as per the pre-hearing that's taking place on November the 25th, and maybe there'll be a resolution and we won't be at the board. In Simcoe County, there was a similar situation that arose with the growth plan, and the province actually negotiated through a mediator a settlement of the various interests. But it's very important that the municipality participate if it believes in this resolution, which I know you do, because it has a lot more clout than anybody else would with respect to this kind of a matter.
Councillor Maves, you have a question?
Yes, through you to Mr. Beeman. You mentioned that possibly we could have a report by next council meeting on what's involved
Yes, sir,
and
though.
possibly the cost.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Lustig has mentioned Simcoe County. As it happened, one of the names I was thinking of recommending to council participated in that hearing, and that would give some optimism towards the same individual might be able to negotiate our way out of this one too and save us a lot of money. So I think that I can have an estimate back for you from a number of people that work in this area, and we can be ready to give council some information on a likely cost by November the 16th. The other thing that I can do is when the individuals I'll be speaking with are involved in a case like the Simcoe case, similar cases at this time, and they'll probably give me a much more accurate estimate of what they're going to cost than I can provide based on my experience in the Rymel Road matter.
And this would be sufficient time for you, Mr. Lustig?
Yes, I spoke with the board actually about our participation because we're going to participate in any case. And what I was told was that if we appear on the 25th and we have a letter that indicates what our position is, that is sufficient. So assuming for the moment that, the direction that you gave to the staff here was on the 16th, that could be done by the 25th.
So if we made a motion to have Mr. Beeman bring back a report on November 16th, we could do this?
I think that'd be appropriate.
Thank you.
You wish to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Councillor Maves, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any other further discussion by members of council? Councillor Wing.
Yes, I'm not going to support this. I didn't support the motion 2 weeks ago. Just to pick up on something Mr. Beeman said, I do not believe it is in the best interests of the city in terms of long-term planning to do this, to support these urban boundary expansions in that northwest sector that are being requested. First of all, that is our best agricultural lands there. I've known that since my very first council meeting when Doug Darvison advised the council of that. Secondly, the existing urban boundary is the QEW and the Hydro Corridor. The QEW is at least 4 lanes, or it may be as many as 6, and the Hydro Corridor is probably even broader. That is a much more substantial boundary than the proposed boundaries, which are a couple of 2-lane arterial roads. And finally, if we really want to achieve the goals of intensification and infill and meeting the targets under smart growth that have been set for us, and our planning department's stated goal of focusing the growth in our older downtown areas, Queen Street and historic Drummondville, then what we need to do is hold firm on our urban boundaries, stop sprawling into the countryside, and intensify where we're already built up, where we already have all the municipal services in place. That is our long-term planning goal, supposedly, and holding firm on the urban boundary is the best way to support them. You don't go sprawling out onto the best agricultural land you have and changing boundaries from something that's pretty substantial to something that's far less substantial than it is now. There's no way I'm supporting this, especially extra money that we didn't budget for. And think about the cuts we made to the social service agencies last budget season. I'm still thinking $6,000 to the YWCA. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket to us. It was big time to them, and we're going to spend way more than that now, and it's not even budgeted for.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of council? Having seen none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opposed. 1. It's 5-1. Thank you very much, Mr. Lustig. We'll advise you. Members of council, before we move on to reports, I failed to mention to you the following is happening next Sunday, or this Sunday, I should say, November the 8th. The Royal Canadian Legion Branch 396 in Chippewa is holding their annual Remembrance Day service beginning at 2 p.m., again at the Willoughby Memorial Arena. So we invite all those who wish to attend the ceremony. As well, on Wednesday, November the 11th, at 11 o'clock, of course, the Niagara Falls Remembrance Day ceremony will take place at the Niagara Falls Memorial Arena, as usual. Thank you once again. I'll ask for ratification of Community Services Committee actions. I'm going to ask Acting Chair Councillor Peter Angelo to report, please.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'll do Community Services first. Item 1, that the minutes of October 19th be adopted as corrected. Under reports, MW 2009-80 recommended that the Baldwin Avenue and Mulhern Street water main replacement project identified in the 2009 capital budget be deferred pending the completion of the 10-year infrastructure needs assessment Report MW 2009-82 dealing with Waterloo Drive Consulting Services. It's recommended that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the required consultant services agreement with ACOM Canada Limited at an upset limit of $28,000. Item 3, PD 2009-84 dealing with the commercial building and facade improvement applications on Queen Street, and there was 4 properties, and Chrysler Street, and there was 1 property. It's recommended that the committee approve of the applications for facade and commercial building improvement subject to Historic Niagara meeting the downtown CIP program requirements, including the payment of all outstanding property taxes on the respective properties. 4th report, PD 2009-85 dealing with the commercial building and facade improvement applications at 5844 Main Street. It's recommended that the commercial building and facade improvement grant for this location be approved subject to the owner satisfying the program requirements, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the agreement. 5th item, Your Worship, PD 2009-81 dealing with open houses for official plan and zoning bylaw amendments. Recommended that council pass the revised pre-consultation bylaw appearing on the agenda to require an open house to be held for applications to amend the city's official plan and zoning bylaw as part of a complete application. Report TS 2009-43 dealing with Erie Avenue parking review. It's recommended that a no parking passenger drop-off zone only be established on the west side of Erie Avenue from a point 29 meters south of Bridge Street to a point 41 meters south of Bridge Street. Report TS 2009-45 dealing with the Pierce Street heavy vehicle restriction. It's recommended that heavy vehicles, including buses, be prohibited on Pierce Street between Allendale and Main Street. Next report, TS 2009-44 dealing with the Mewburn Road closure. It's recommended that council approve the bylaw on tonight's agenda with the amendment to allow temporary passage of pedestrians and human-powered vehicles, i.e. bicycles. Report TS 2009-47 dealing with Eastwood Crescent traffic operations. It was recommended that the report be received for committee. And under new business, Your Worship, there was 2 items. One, that staff review the no parking restrictions on the west side of Kayla Road to determine if on-street parking could be permitted in the winter months. And then secondly, that staff investigate and report back to council on the bike lane markers on St. Paul Avenue. And I would so move the minutes, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Diodati. You heard the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. I'd like to call on the ratification of corporate services committee actions moved by, presented by Councillor Pietrangelo as chair. Councillor?
Yeah. Your Worship, first was the minutes. It was recommended that the minutes from October 19th be adopted as recorded. And there was one report. It was F 2009-51 dealing with the water account collections for residential tentative accounts. And it was recommended that staff report back to council with a revised deposit amount for residential tentative accounts, and also that the practice of transferring arrears of unpaid water sewer charges onto the owner's taxes account be discontinued on effective November 3rd, 2009. 2 items for new business, Your Worship. First, the staff investigate the issue of bird feeders, and second, that staff bring forward amendments to the live adult businesses bylaw to limit the number of adult entertainment parlors to 3 with an effective date of today. Good luck, Mr. Harris.
Moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Diodati. Once again, you've heard the comments. Any questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Just a moment, please. Councillor Wing.
Yes, there's a gentleman in the audience who would like to speak. I'm sorry, I don't know what he'd like to speak about, but he has passed that request.
Okay, Councillor Wing, you'd like to make that motion?
Yes, I'll move that we hear him. And
seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Please come forward, sir. Please come forward. Would you be kind enough to state your name, please?
I'm John Sharp of Lions Creek Road, a master plumber of Niagara Falls for the last 50 years. My reason for coming here was I wanted to speak to the mayor, and in my travels I came across a manuscript which contained photographs of the royal entourage family, the king and queen of 100 years ago. So as the prince and Camellia are approaching, according to the TV, I wondered if the Mayor would like to have these photographs because it's quite customary for people in high places to go bearing gifts to each other. The Prince will give the Mayor something, and the Mayor would give the Prince something. So, just to show you. So the manuscript that I found, the King and Queen had come to Canada 100 years ago and asked for Canada to supply the 7 best photographers that they had. And so that they came up with this is the Queen Elizabeth. There's there, very good. So there's another one there. I mean, you probably might not have seen it, or it all keeps on. There's there. And there's me in wartime with my troop-carrying glider. And as a matter of fact, the Prince wears my wings, the glider pilot wings, the blue wings, not these ones here, the blue wings. You'll see him when he's in full dress uniform. He wears the glider pilot wings of 70 years ago. And I see the item in the paper just recently. It says the Prince was seen flying solo in Canada. Well, kind of rather foolish, really. You should really take someone with you, or take a parachute like I had to. So here you are. So these are for you to dispose of if you wish. And
well, thank you very much, Mr. Sharp. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to come. We have an opportunity to meet with Prince Charles at a reception on Friday. I've been invited to attend Niagara College at the Glendale campus, so I'll do my best to present that to the Prince for you on your behalf, and I'd be glad to present them to him if you'd like to leave them with us.
Could I have one question? I live on Lions Creek Road. I moved there years ago because it has great scenic value. Had a beautiful view of the marina. Over the years, the marina has been closed off with the foliage. I have a plot of ground next door to me that's now 30 feet high, and it looks terrible, and no one wants to trim it or clean it. This is supposed to be the beauty spot of Canada here. So it's a very sad state. I wondered if you could do anything about it.
Perhaps we can refer that to our staff as well. So, Councillor Fisher.
Mr. Sharp, good evening. He lives at Hunters Creek, so you know where he is on Lions Creek. And for years now, he's been begging to have that creek cleaned up, and here we go again. So that is his concern right at Hunters Creek.
So perhaps, Councillor Fisher, you can make a motion to have a report back from Mr. Clerk.
We've responded to Mr. Sharp annually on this complaint.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. All righty. Thank you very much, Mr. Sharp. We do appreciate your attendance here tonight, and I'll do my best to present that to the Prince. Thank you. Good. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. Can I have a motion as well to introduce the bylaws? The bylaws be given a first. Sorry, Mr. Clerk. Oh, additional.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
Just regarding bylaw 2009-172, based on your motion earlier in community services, there have been some revisions to that bylaw. Mr. Beeman whipped them off very quickly. So under the whereas section, it'll read, Section 35 of the Municipal Act provides in part that the council of every municipality may pass bylaws to temporarily restrict the public right of passage over a highway, and and under number 1 of the bylaw, that public right of passage over Mewburn Road from 1.5 kilometers north of Mountain Road to 1.7 kilometers north of Mountain Road is hereby temporarily restricted to use of can't read Ken's writing, restricted to passage on foot or by means of human-powered vehicles, and that was the motion you had already ratified.
Okay, thank you for that qualification. So once again, can I have a motion to introduce the bylaws? Bylaws are given a first reading. Moved by Councillor Peter Angelo, seconded by Councillor Diodati. Council's heard the motion. Any questions or comments? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion is carried.
Bylaws 2009-170 to 2009-173 read a first time.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to give the bylaws a second and third reading? Moved by Councillor Peter Angelo, seconded by Councillor Diodati. Once again, Council's heard the motion. Any further questions or comments? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion is carried.
Bylaws 2009-170 to 2009-173 read a second and third time and passed.
Thank you. Any new business this evening? Councillor Wing?
Yes, thank you. I have 2 items. We've been talking about affordable housing quite a bit lately, and MPP Sherry DeNovo's inclusionary zoning bill passed second reading in the Ontario legislature recently. She contacted me. We have a mutual acquaintance, and she explained that numerous municipalities in the United States and Europe have used inclusionary zoning as an effective tool to address the affordable housing crisis in their areas. And as we know, we have a bit of affordable housing crisis here. We have, 4,500 on the Niagara Regional Housing waiting list. Quite simply, inclusionary zoning allows municipalities to pass bylaws mandating that a certain percentage of all new units built in an area be put aside for affordable purchases. In other cases, developers are given the option to put aside a certain amount of money to affordable housing purposes rather than having affordable units in their buildings. MPP DeNovo's bill does not impose anything on municipalities. Rather, it seeks to empower municipalities to use inclusionary zoning tools free from provincial interference. I already ran this by Mr. Hurlovich and asked him for some comments, and he agreed with me that it's worth looking into, that I should ask for a staff report and recommendation, and I so move that staff report back.
Moved by Councillor Wing, seconded by Councillor Peter Angelo. Any further comments or questions? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Second item.
And my second one is, as we all know, November 11th is approaching, and Mark Richardson of our Parks, Recreation and Culture Department recently passed something along to the members of the Park and the City Committee that I thought was worth bringing up here. The Historica Dominion Institute has a Take 2 Minutes to Remember campaign going, and they're inviting all Canadians, whether at home, at school, or at work, as not everybody does make it out to the Memorial Day services, Remembrance Day services, rather, at the arenas, to take 2 minutes to remember. And they're saying 2 minutes of silence everywhere across this country, 2 minutes to stop and think, to reflect and respect. And they're asking everybody to join them in a personal commitment that at 11 o'clock on November 11th, we will take 2 minutes to remember. We will stand up and be silent. When we do, we will join our fellow Canadians, wherever they may be, whatever language they speak, in honoring those who have served and are serving Canada and those who have died for our country. And they're asking everybody to sign up and take 2 minutes to remember. And unfortunately, the address did not print. I thought I had it here, but I don't have it. But they're asking Canadians to sign up and take the pledge online. And if you type take 2 minutes to remember into Google or whatever search engine you're using, it will come up. And I'm encouraging everybody in the city to do as I did, and a number of other people have. Sign up and take that pledge, and on November 11th, you know what to do.
Thank you very much for that input. Thank you. Any other new business? Not. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor May, seconded by Councillor Diodati. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, members of council and staff. Thank you.